Hi, I'm Eric Schumacher Rasmussen. I'm the editor of Streaming Media Magazine and StreamingMedia.com here at Streaming Media West 2012 with Alex Zambelli, the Senior Technical Evangelist for the Microsoft Media Platform.
That's right.
And we are talking about MPEG-DASH. We knew MPEG-DASH was going to be big last year at Streaming Media West 2011 when the one MPEG-DASH panel here had a standing room only audience. And since then, MPEG-DASH has really been one of the hottest and most important topics in the online video industry. For those who might not know about MPEG-DASH at this point, Alex, why is MPEG-DASH such a big deal?
So MPEG-DASH, for those of who are not familiar with what it stands for, it's Dynamic Adaptive Streaming over HTTP. So it's an MPEG standard for doing adaptive streaming. And the reason it's important is that it's really sort of the culmination of a process that's started about 4 or 5 years ago when the first adaptive streaming technologies were introduced. And of course, as it is with really any technology, when you have that kind of huge shift in technology and a big evolution, essentially, typically it's proprietary technologies that lead the charge. And so now that those technologies have been around for a few years, obviously we don't want to fragment the market anymore. So it really became crucial to start looking at how do we standardize these technologies into something that everyone can use and will be interoperable. And that process started about 2 years ago, first originally in 3GPP and then in MPEG. And it finally was ratified and published as a standard about a year ago, or actually earlier this year. Mm-hmm. And so the interest in the industry has been, I think, really kind of expected to a certain degree because a lot of companies were not interested in continuing on the path that they were up until that point, which was delivering in multiple formats, encoding and storing multiple versions of the same assets using whether it was Microsoft Smooth Streaming or Apple HLS or Adobe HDS or some other possible technologies. And so really companies are mostly interested in at least reducing the number of assets that they're currently, like I said, storing, producing, delivering. And really, ultimately, it's lower cost that I think is most attractive about Dash, really, and the ability to reach as many devices as possible.
So is the ability to deliver using Dash available right now? Where is it at in sort of the deployment process?
So several companies have already announced support for Dash in encoders and support for Dash in on servers as well. Several companies, including Microsoft, have announced plans to do it in the near future. And so we're definitely getting to a point where adoption is starting, but I would say 2012 has really been sort of early adopters year. Mm-hmm. I think next year we're going to see broad adoption, and really I think the event that's going to allow that to happen will be the publication of what's known as Dash 264. And Dash 264 is really where we start getting into the specifics of Dash that enable interoperability. So Dash 264 is an application profile that's being defined by the Dash Industry Forum, which is right now about 50 or so companies that have joined together into Dash Industry Forum to help really both evangelize the standard and help adoption, and also to define those specifics that will enable interoperability. So really, when you get down to the specifics of what are the codecs, what are the file types, and then of course what the syntax is for transmitting it over HTTP, now you're talking about something that is actually practical and that can be adopted and that will be interoperable, and so that the player that I develop can work with your server that you develop and back and forth.
Yeah, are there any major companies or organizations that aren't on board with Dash at this point?
There are a few companies, so I wouldn't say necessarily they're not on board with Dash. They haven't joined the industry forum yet, so notably Apple is still not a member of the industry forum. We're a member of the working group that defined Dash, so they were involved and they did submit some technologies that are part of Dash to it, but they're not a member of the industry forum. And so there are still some companies out there. I think a lot of companies are perhaps just on the fence to see whether it's going to gain momentum or not. But that could possibly change the next year, who knows. But we definitely have a lot of momentum that's growing, so that's for sure. Like you mentioned, we started out last year with a single Dash event at Stream Media West, which was really well attended. And now I think there was about 3 panels or 3 sessions at this event, Stream Media West this year, and I just came back from Stream Media Europe 2 weeks ago where it was the same thing. So we're definitely seeing a lot of interest, and if companies are interested, and if this sounds like a good idea to them and they understand the concept behind it and the value behind it, that I don't think we need to worry about whether we're going to be able to sell it as a product. I think it's really kind of self-evident.
Sure. So what do content owners and publishers need to know about MPEG-DASH if they're interested in looking at deploying it? And as you said, being able to reduce the number of assets that they need to keep on hand.
So as I mentioned earlier, Dash 264 is getting pretty close to being finalized. So I think that will be the crucial step, really. And then at that point, it's going to be important to look for products that support the Dash 264 specifically. And some of the technologies that exist today can be used really as stepping stones also to Dash. So for example, both Adobe and Microsoft had announced their support for Dash. And what it really means in the practical context is that even though Microsoft has smooth streaming today and Adobe has HDS, both those technologies, at least from a Microsoft perspective, we look at smooth streaming as being really a stepping stone to Dash, a technology that once we sort of transition over to Dash, it'll be backwards compatible with smooth streaming. So we really like this idea that you have a smooth streaming asset on the server, but you have a Dash client, and our server will essentially basically repackage the content from smooth streaming to Dash to deliver it to that Dash client. So a lot of customers who are investing today in, like I said, Adobe HDS or Microsoft Smooth Streaming will not be left out in the cold. There will be transition paths to Dash for them.
Great. And is the MPEG-DASH Industry Forum probably the best place for people who want more information to start looking?
Yeah, that is the best place. They're also open to, of course, new members as well. So any company out there that really wants to get involved with Dash and help really be among the first to adopt it and help promote it, they should definitely join the Industry Forum. And then it's also a good source of information for everyone else. They have links to white papers on their websites, and so it's a great start.
Great. Thanks, Alex. I've been talking to Alex Zambelli, the Senior Technical Evangelist for Microsoft Media, and also someone who's been very involved with pushing MPEG-DASH forward. So thanks for the information.
Thank you, Eric.